Hi, Mira Love here with Mentorship and Spiritual Mastery, and this is story time. Today's story occurred to me a few weeks ago. It centers on communicating with the unseen and takes us into some beautiful territory on spiritual mastery and mysticism. It's the evening, the end of a long workday for me. I'm feeling weariness through my head, my eyes, and I'm at a bit of an impasse with some writing that I'm developing. I decide I'm going to be done for now. I close my computer and I head over from my office to the room where my son watches video. In order to do this, I have to pass through our living room, which we call Yogi's bedroom, after our dog who passed away a few years ago. Sweet Yogi. He was named after Yogi Bear, the cartoon character, by the way. Yogi claimed the couch in the living room for his bed, and that was his bed for 15 years. So, in memorial, the room will always be Yogi's bedroom. And as I'm crossing Yogi's bedroom, I send a telepathic message. I direct this message to my core community, a group of collaborators on the inner planes with whom I'm in continuous communion and who contribute to all that I create and offer. I experience myself as an extension of them, and they are an extension of me. Some of you are very conscious of being a part of that group on the inner planes and contributing to the evolution of consciousness and our explorations. And if you've never considered that your wisdom self operates as and in collectives in many dimensions at once, you could play with opening to noticing that right now, you are contributing to creating this exchange. You are shaping the story with your quality of listening, attention, imagination, and your spiritual brilliance. Perhaps it's you giving me this nudge to send a telepathic message as I cross Yogi's bedroom right now. Perhaps I am responding to your message, and right now you are receiving mine. I ask my close collaborators, this group of expansive wisdom beings, including you, I ask you to assist me in refreshing my vision. It's really an off-the-cuff moment. It's a spontaneous but conscious ask for support. I send the thought and I carry on walking over to the room where my son is, which is only about another 40 feet. I open the door to tell him that it's time to finish up for the evening. He looks up at me and gasps and makes a little shriek. And he blurts out, "What's wrong with your face?" Now, being born in a female body in this culture, I've been well trained since early childhood to ask the question, "What's wrong with my face?" I was taught to stay hyper vigilant about this question, "What's wrong with my face?" and to keep it at the forefront of my mind at all times. Because the assumption that the culture mirrored back to me and maybe to you as well from a very early age was that at any given moment, for sure, there must be something wrong with my face. And I should be looking for what that is and working to fix it at all times. It took me decades to reshape the imprints and associations around that question so that it was no longer anchored at the center of my mind stream. And thankfully, at this point, I am not spending my precious life energy wondering what's wrong with my face. I no longer feel a charge around that question. So when my son asks, "What's wrong with your face?" my experience is one of genuine open curiosity. I do an instantaneous internal check. I'm not feeling anything on my face or something off with my skin. And his reaction is so startled that I sense this is something other than a cosmetic situation. He's looking at me as if I have the answer to his question, but I have no answer. So I respond to him and say, I don't know. What is wrong with my face? And he says, you have glittery blue and silver light running up all up and down your face. Really? I say. Yeah, he says, like, why is this not obvious to you? And then he backs away as much as he can. The room that we're in with the computer is the smallest room in our house, so there's only just a couple feet for him to go back, just a couple steps. And there are two lights in this room, and he's looking at them back and forth. He's walking around now, looking at me from different angles. He's trying to figure this out. Is this a trick of light? Where is this effect coming from? And now he comes way up close to my face, and he only comes up to about my shoulder, so he has to look up and get up on his tiptoes to get as close as possible. Then he backs away again, and finally he settles in the center of the room. He's just staring at my face, mesmerized. I am standing in the door frame, looking at him, looking at my face. I feel the call to stay silent. I don't mention to him that I have asked the inner group to refresh my vision. I don't mention that it's clear to me that what he's perceiving is part of your response, that the wisdom group is intentionally moving energy in such a fluid and gentle way that I don't feel a thing. And yet my whole energy is being reoriented along with his right now. I think I don't explain what is happening because he's having a direct perception, and I don't want to disturb that with unnecessary content. As long as 30 seconds pass, long enough for several quiet breaths together, then he says in an authoritative voice, "It's gone now." I say, "Okay." And we stay together. Another few seconds pass. And then he says, "You're so weird, Ma." I laugh, and without skipping a beat, I say, "I'm the weird one? You're the one that's seeing glittery silver and blue light." And then he laughs and acknowledges, "That's true, that's true." We both laugh. There's lightness. Life is full of miracles, and we don't have to pick them all apart right now because the quality of our connection is more important than any of those explanations. And that's that. I pivot into, "Okay, sweetie pie, it's time to finish up." And he says, "There's only 10 more minutes of the basketball game. Can I watch the rest?" And I say, "Okay, but then it's time." And he says, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." And I step out of the door frame, close the door, and walk over to the kitchen to do dishes. And then I begin reflecting on this exchange. And I've been reflecting on it for a few weeks. It's continued to open within me, revealing layer after layer of meaning. I'm reflecting on how I witness my son directly perceive subtle energy. He's using his psychic senses, his energy reading skills that go beyond the physical senses. Or you could say he's activated in mystic vision, but he's focusing on the outer display. He registers that something extraordinary is happening, or at least weird and out of the ordinary for 8 p.m. on a Wednesday night. But he puts the strangeness of the situation on me. I'm the weird one. He doesn't recognize that he's using his mystic vision in an incredible way. He's unaware of the revelation he's experiencing. I have witnessed so many of my mentees do the same thing over the decades. Their energy reading capacities, their inner vision is so clear, but they don't even notice it. It's happening, plain as day. But they will come to me and say, it's not happening. I can't see it. They don't realize it. And just as often, they are aware of what they're seeing. They know what they know. They know they're having a direct perception, but they don't trust their senses, so they hesitate to act. They've been trained by this culture, as most of us have, not to trust their own subtle senses, trained to ignore what is right in front of them. This invalidation of our wisdom selves happens in thousands, millions of ways, mostly through chronic micro invalidations that have been internalized. And then it's like those incredible senses, the fullness of our being never existed at all. We forget. We forget that they were ever silenced in the first place. We forget that, of course, we all have mystical vision. We're all masterful in using our subtle senses. It's the most natural thing in the world for us to communicate with beings in other dimensions, to read each other's energy, to consciously shape subtle energy to bring forth more loving connections. None of us could get through an hour without doing that. But if you don't have the recognition of these capacities, or you have not built the trust in your own knowing, then huge amounts of your power is cut off. There's all this energy that isn't being consciously directed in a life-giving way for yourself and others. My experience is that everyone is abundant in insight. Everyone has fields of realizations that simply have not been harvested and put to meaningful use. You can always ask your wisdom self to light up a realization that is ready for you to harvest now. You can try it right now. Ask your wisdom self to light up a realization that is ready to harvest now. You don't have to figure it out. You just see what pops up. Take it however it comes. What expansion of consciousness are you ready to come into greater connection with and give the power of to yourself? What is there for you to reclaim and live into? I'd really love to know what comes up for you. I mean, you can drop it in the comments below. It does take time to undo the cultural training that negates us receiving the nourishment of the full spectrum of our senses. But it's never a matter of capacity. It's simply a matter of building trust through practice, of developing connections with communities and spiritual mentors who can reflect back to you your mastery. There's an example of this in the Buddhist tradition. Another story, thousands of years ago, this invalidation of humans' natural state of awakening was already happening. In fact, the erasure of mystical dimensions within us arose with the onset of agriculture and civilizations thousands of years ago, about 10,000 years ago or so. So by Gautama Buddha's times, those skills were already well dismissed. The story goes that the community of practitioners are out together in a forest with their guide, the Buddha. It's winter, but it's India, so it's not that cold. The weather's probably quite comfortable. And they're all sitting together under the trees, having a discussion on aspects of spiritual mastery. And one of the disciples begins to have a rapid expansion of consciousness. He is seeing the nature of reality, not as a theory, but as a direct perception. And the trees around him, who are exquisitely sensitive, match the quickening of evolution that is happening and respond by rapidly sending buds from their branches and flowering out of season. All of the sudden, there are fragrant spring flowers and blossoms are falling everywhere. This is an outer expression of the inner growth that is happening, the sudden blossoming of realization, the revelation that enlightening is not bound by any season or calendar. It defies all rational conditions. There's no program to follow to get to it. The trees are responding and reminding us all that truth is always available. The whole community of practitioners is overcome, totally awed by these trees. They're reaching out their hands, they're catching petals, so full of joy and delight by this miracle. And the Buddha says to his community, don't look at the trees, look at your fellow practitioner. Look at what's happening to him. See his state of being. Now, underneath this instruction is the knowing that if these practitioners recognize what's happening in their friend, they will have opened the conditions in themselves to experience the same state. The next guidance is now turn your sacred insight inwards and look at what's happening to you directly. Welcome the revelation in yourself. None of this is happening without you. You are actively collaborating in creating it. You are one of the sources of this awakening event. The awakening is actually happening through you. Each being in that story, the student who's piercing the veil, the trees who are responding with their own awakening, the Buddha who's perceiving it all, and all the other practitioners who are witnessing. They're all fractals of one revelation. Everyone there is in what I call the revelation frequency. Same in the moment with my son and I, and all of us. So you could say, well, I'm not having blue and silver light run all over my face, or I didn't have that kind of psychic perception. I didn't see that. And yet, you're the one hearing the story. You're part of it. And the tendency can be to think, well, I'm just listening to the story. It's not actually happening to me. But is it not? This is how it's happening to you. It's not just me telling you some story that has nothing to do with you. You're in the story. The story is occurring creatively, collaboratively. And this is an even deeper revelation. This togetherness is so important. Without my son's assistance, without his very literal insight, I wouldn't have recognized this deeper layer of energetic care that my community was sending me. I am able to see it because he can see it. There's no individual spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is always about recognizing more connection, not less. All evolution of consciousness is communal. We awaken together through our relating, through what we choose to reflect and make real for each other. And when I ask, please refresh my vision, I have some idea of what that's going to look like. Every telepathic message is a whole package of information, including images of possibilities of what might happen, potential vector points. I send the images that there'll be some assistance releasing tension in my head, my eyes getting less tired, a new inspiration for my writing coming. And actually, all of that did occur, but not in the pathways that I expected. My vision was refreshed in so many ways I could never have planned or asked for. And it's continuing to happen. My vision continues to be refreshed as we share this story. As you listen and are telepathically sending your images and wisdom, weaving your presence into the collective, the offering continues to expand in all directions. It didn't stop after the glittery blue and silver light faded. There is eternal expansion and growth. You will never come to the end of any realization. There's always more for us to grow into together, more for us to harvest together. There's such a great feast of meaning laid out for us to enjoy. So I look forward to continuing on that way together. Thank you so much for being a part of this story, for expanding sacred vision together, contributing to the deepening. If you'd like to contribute by leaving comments, letting me know what your realizations are, what's expanding for you right now, I'd love it. And to keep this beautiful connection growing, please consider subscribing and sharing this video with others. The link to join my mailing list and all the other offerings is in the description if you would like to hear about upcoming opportunities to deepen your capacity to live in the flow of mystic vision. Thank you so much for being here. May growth through joy flourish from our connection.